You're watching a very special episode of AWANI Review with me, Ibrahim, Sani. Joining me is David Korslund. He is from the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, or GABV for short. Here to discuss a little bit more about value-based intermediary and of course value-based banking. Let's discuss the whole concept of value-based banking first.
Yeah, I think the key issue for value-based banking is it's providing banking services to individuals and enterprises that deliver economic resiliency, environmental regeneration, and social empowerment in their communities. And values-based banks do that on a financially sustainable basis, including returns to financial investors.
And of course, the reason why we're here today is because we're attending the Global Islamic Finance Forum. How would value-based banking be impacting the Islamic finance industry?
Yeah, I think there's a direct relationship between value-based banking and Islamic finance. If you look at some of the key principles of Sharia, it's about avoiding harm, it's about putting the interests of society first, it's about using money and wealth as a means, not an end. Those are all very consistent. In fact, those are embedded in the principles of value-based banking. So I think the link between a value-based banking approach and Sharia finance, Islamic finance, is very, very strong, and that's why we're here today.
During the opening speech, the Governor of Bank Negara Malaysia, Nur Shamsia, did mention about a VBI scorecard or something to that effect.
Yeah.
How does this tie with Bank Negara's overall value-based financing strategy for the nation?
Yeah. So we at the Global Alliance for Banking and Values have been working with Bank Negara for quite some time, providing them some insight from our perspective of banking practitioners around the world as to how you can focus on value-based intermediation. And one of the tools that we've developed is a scorecard, and we've been working with Bank Negara on adjusting that scorecard to be used by them to work with the local banks here, and we've actually worked with 9 pilot banks here in Malaysia to do so.
And after all, the conversation will be on the application of the scorecard. How would you assess the initial use of the VBI scorecard here in this country?
Yeah, so even take a step back, I think in terms of the value-based intermediation strategy was introduced just a year ago by Bank Negara. And since that time, I think that the banks have done an enormous amount of effort to complete initial scorecards. We've completed those scorecards, we've reviewed them with the banks, we know exactly where they're all at, and they have a good sense of what they need to do to improve their performance to be more value-based focused. So it's been a great success, and it's been great to work with both the pilot banks and Bank Negara on this process.
I assume this is not a one-step be-all kind of magic pill that everything's going to be resolved. Do you think that this is part of a step process to make this a little bit more concrete, a little longer term? What are the next steps that we can expect?
Yeah, making the Islamic finance system in Malaysia more value-based is a long-term project, and even many of our members who have been value-based for 30, 40 years are always looking for new ways to further improve their performance. So I think we have got a great start. The banks have a good understanding of what they need to do. They've identified some specific areas for attention and actions they can take to make their activities more values-based. So I think we're at the start of a long-term process, but like everything in the world, this is a forever process. You can always get better.
And of course, your institution, GABV, is one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer, in carrying out value-based banking, value-based investing measurement. What do you think would be some of the key challenges that you normally see when countries or financial institutions or financial markets try to erect something of this magnitude in terms of legislator?
Yeah. I think the key issue is sort of the key issue of all management. You have to balance various dilemmas you face. And I think if I look at here at the Malaysian situation, I think one of the key dilemmas, challenges that it faces is how do you balance economic development with environmental regeneration? And in the long term, you need to have sustainable businesses providing jobs, and you also need to have sustainable housing, but you also have to do it here and now. So I think that balance, that dilemma between how do you both meet both the need for economic resiliency and environmental regeneration is a challenge that's particularly present in countries that are more in a developing world, although Malaysia is far from not developed.
Yeah.
But even as you go forward, I think that's going to be the key issue here in Malaysia and for the Malaysian banks.
And of course, I think the key step here is taking Malaysia out from that status of emerging markets and try to be as developed a market as soon as possible. Do you think that this is one of those key things that we can do to make sure that we make that leapfrog?
Correct, but at the same time, you need to ensure that the environment is sustainable, because you could have a good development in the short term, but if the environment is degraded in the long term, that short-term economic development will not last. So it's important to get that balance between the two.
Of course, thank you very much. I've been speaking to David Korslund of GABV. If you want to watch more of this interview, just head on to awanireview.com. For now, we are reporting live from GIFF, or Global Islamic Finance Forum 2018 at Sani. Thank you very much, David.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Good.